Nadia, can you introduce yourself to our followers, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nadia Smith. I just graduated from Dental Hygienist School at Wichita State. I work at Kansas Heart. I have two little babies, 1 and 3, named Micah and Tobias. I have a husband of almost 6 years named Mark. He gets on my nerves, but I love him to death. And that's just me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. And like I said, taking the time out of your day to do this. So as a mom, you wear a lot of different hats. You're a wife, you're a mother, a student, and now a graduate. Congratulations on that as well.
Yes.
So how do you manage? Now, there was a time when I was doing the same, not wifing, but mothering and going to school. Okay, I haven't been married yet. How do you manage? How do you balance all of those things and being a mom? How do you find time?
To be completely honest with you, when I first graduated from school in 2015, I didn't have kids. So coming back to school with kids, it was so different. And honestly, I don't think without my husband and my mom that I would have even made it. Because I had so many tears because when I started school, I had a 2-week-old daughter. So that was a challenge within itself. Like I had a breastfeeder. She needed me for everything. It was a challenge. And then being tired because you have a 2-week-old. You have to study for tests all day. Just having that support system. That's really how I got through it. And then just the Lord, because I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without him. So just keeping him my focal point and then just having my family is the only way I got into it. It was so hard, you guys, but that's really how I got through.
That's awesome.
I can concur.
Yeah, being a wife and being a mom, just them two together, that's hard. Because you gotta focus on the kids, and then your husband still needs his attention. So it's just like, hey, you just gotta organize and just love everybody, and they just love you because you can't always focus on one person because it's 3 of them here with me. But I think I do okay. I'm still learning every day.
That's awesome. Awesome.
That's true. I still am learning myself with 2 kids and going to school full time. I don't have a husband, as Banks mentioned, but working full time and being a student full time and then being a mom full time, like outside, I think I lived at the Far High and at Newman. Like that's where I spent most of my time was at Newman at the Far High. So I most definitely agree that a support system is the greatest thing that you can have while trying to accomplish this, because without it and without God, I wouldn't have been able to be at this point where I am currently getting ready to student teach and be finished and took on a full load, but I did it. And so I agree.
Definitely. Yeah. My family is a big support for me, and even still being at a distance, like there are times where I've like, hey mom, like I'm in a bind. Can you please or dad, hey, my car is this, that, or the other. And he's like, I got you. And so there's no way, no how I would have been able to raise 3 kids on my own. People say, how do I do it? Those are the 2 main factors, God and definitely my family, their support.
Yep.
Yeah. So I completely
definitely.
Definitely.
So Nadia, our next question is, so what do you think is the most challenging thing about being a mom?
The most challenging thing for me, because growing up, I've always been that kid that, like, sad to say, I like knew everything because I feel like I was just a nerd and I was just so smart. The most challenging thing for me is just not knowing how to do things. Like, prime example, Tobias is a sweet, kind little, he's so sweet and so kind, but at school, he started having like behavior problems just from seeing it from other kids. And I was just like, okay, I'm trying to teach him to grow up to be this, this kind, humble young man, that treats everyone fairly, but how do I get my child to act right? So that's been my biggest challenge, is just like trying to raise them. I mean, I only have 2. They're still pretty young. So just not knowing what to do in certain situations, that's my biggest challenge for me. And then just not knowing if I'm raising them right. I have shed so many tears, you guys, like, oh my God, am I raising my children the right way? Because they're doing this.
Join the club,
so
join the club.
That is just honestly just not knowing what I'm doing. That's my biggest challenge, and just learning every day. And then when I see him do something after I've taught him, that's just like the biggest reward. Like, okay, he got it when I told him to do it this way or not do this. So that's really just not knowing is a challenge for me.
I think we find it easy to get discouraged, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you have to know that you are doing a good job and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that kids are going to be kids. Because I found myself getting like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to be an educator? And I can't teach my son to not do this at school, or how, but you have to know that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that they are listening. But they're just going to be kids, and they have to go through these phases of learning, and they see other kids doing things and they pick it up sometimes, but it's nothing to fall back on you. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Tobias has taught me a lot, because I'm going to definitely need it for Micah. Micah's a
Mm-hmm.
breed. So she's at 1, so I'm just letting her get her little, I'm gonna let you slide with some things, but I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
another year. So Tobias has taught me a lot. I'm really thankful for him, because I don't know if I could handle Micah without Tobias. So it's gonna be exciting to see that in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you said not knowing, because I feel like we could all kind of agree. It's like there's things that we just don't know. Like, how do you figure it out? How do you kind of work through those moments of where you're kind of down on yourself, you're discouraged, you're having emotional breakdown almost, right? Like, how do you figure it out? Who do you maybe lean on or go to kind of be like, okay, what can I do in this situation? What do you do during those times?
Honestly, I talk to my mom a lot.
Yeah.
My mom, I go to her because my mom is like one of my best friends. We don't agree on everything, but that's honestly like my best friend. So I go to her for a lot of advice. But also like Ashley, the twin Ashley, I talk to her because she has 2 boys and they're around that same age. So I actually call her sometimes like, hey, I need some mom advice because I'm over here about to cry my little self to sleep. Like, help me. What do I need to do? And she honestly has helped me a few times. I typically kind of just cried out. I'm like, okay, Nadia, you got this. But if I'm like to my point, I'll either go to my mom or I'll go to Ashley. Like, hey, I need some help, girls. Like, help me out. So just being able to reach out sometimes, like I said, I try to keep it in and just like try to figure it out. But if I don't know what to do, I'll just reach out to one of them and just they always get me right. So it's good to have them too.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest go-to. Definitely is still to this day, and probably forever will be my mom. And even having a son, I have to go to my dad sometimes for those things, and I'm like, can you get him together? Because I don't know what to do with this. Like, I know how to be a girl. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
But what's going on here? So I definitely lean to the both of them for advice and for their wisdom as well, because clearly they've done a pretty good job. So
yeah, and sometimes I talk to Mark a lot too, but like we're both, like I said, we're both learning together.
Yeah,
so sometimes I just kind of have to go outside, like, hey, we don't know what we're doing over here. Help us out. And then also I sometimes go to my friends that don't have kids, like they don't know, but let me ask them. And then some like Portia and Brittany, I've asked them, but they have girls, and Portia has an older boy, but he's perfect. So I'm just like, Portia, what to do? He don't do nothing. Yeah. So I reach out to my friends, like I said, so most of them don't have kids. So they're just like, girl, he okay. I'm like, no, he's not okay. Just my friends that have kids. Like I said, Portia's son is perfection. So she tries to tell me stuff. I'm like, girl, he don't do nothing. So yeah, just reaching out to my friends.
It's amazing. I'm like,
yes, he is.
Amazing. So he's so smart and everything. Like,
and he's such a little gentleman. Like he's so sweet. Like I don't know. She did an amazing job with him. I don't know.
Amazing.
She need to tell me all her secrets.
Right. Clearly, and give us the handbook, because I'm like, man, he's awesome. So, Nadia, if you could define motherhood in 3 words, what 3 words? Just 3. What 3 words would you say?
I would have to say liberating, challenging, and let me think of another one. I would say blessed. Yeah. That would have to be, if I had to pick 3 words, that would be my 3. Because when I say, like, if I have a challenge and I get over it and I like conquer it, I feel so liberated. Like, okay, I got this. And then I'm blessed because I have 2 little babies. Kids were just never like my main focus. Like, oh, I gotta have kids. But like now that I have them, I feel like they've just kind of humbled me so much, and I like want to just do so much for them to be like, okay, I can do this because my mom did this. And that's just, honestly, that's my 3. I can't even describe it another way. I just got chills saying that, because that's just how being a mother has changed me in so many ways. So I'm very, very blessed for that.
It's a joy. It's a joy.
As a mother, it's not necessarily like been that focus of like, okay, I'm gonna do these things and be a mother. And how has motherhood changed you? How has that changed you?
It has given me patience. I have been very I've been a very determined person my whole life. Like, oh, I gotta get this, and this, and that done. And being a mom, I feel like every day they're like, okay, mom, you're not gonna be able to do this today. So we gonna change it up. We gonna do what we want to do. Like, you can't make us do this today. You can't teach us this today and think we're gonna get it today. So it's just, they have just changed me. Just like, okay, I gotta slow down. I gotta have that patience. I gotta be able to listen, because I'm not always the best listener. But like, I have to listen to my kids. Like, when they're trying to, like, when Tobias, he's still like learning how to communicate with like certain situations. So I have to like sit there like, okay, explain it to me, show me. And that hasn't always been my background, like my thing that I would do. So just learning that has been how I've changed a lot. Just slowing down and just taking them into consideration and not just being like, okay, I got to do this. It's not just me anymore. So that has been the biggest change for me.
That's big. I think it requires all those things. Being a mother is just being patient, being able to slow down, because I have a 3-year-old needing to, communicate to me something that he feels or she feels, and they can't do that or articulate that in the best way, where I'm like, hey, let's move on to the next thing. And so learning to be patient.
You gotta work through those tantrums.
Yeah, you gotta learn. Yeah, definitely. Let them have their moment, right? Walk away. I have learned to be a better, like, it's like, okay, I can walk away. I don't have to react. I don't have to say anything. So yeah, it has really, I think I would concur. I would agree with you as well, because I felt like we got to check the list off. Let's go. We got next thing. Let's do it. Let's keep going. And I was always trying to get to the next thing. And it was definitely a point where I needed to slow down, sit down, listen. This is what we're trying to communicate to you. So that's big. I think
let's not have an appointment. We're never going to make it on time. So it's like, are you going to wait?
I'm glad somebody said it. I had two out the womb. I'm never going to be on time. Okay. I don't know.
I kid you not. When I first started dental hygiene school, Micah would poop every morning when we got ready to walk out the door. So I was late to dental hygiene. Like, I was late to school all the time. And it got to the point, like, I'm just so sorry. Like, I'm not this person. But my child just, like, literally, she does it every day. Like, she would poop as soon as walking out. I don't want to ride in the car with a poopy pamper. So I'm like, okay, let's just hurry up. Like, it's crazy.
That's funny. And they will teach you to, like, yo, here it is. This is
slow down.
You gotta be flexible. You got to work.
Honestly, that was nothing but the Lord. Like, you need to slow it down, because
slow down.
For like a month, you guys, Micah would poop every morning going out the door. And I'm like,
it's funny how we find these big lessons in these small things that our children do. It's just like, oh, that's what you was trying to get me to do, God. Okay, I hear you. I got you. Okay. Okay, I got you. That's funny.
I love it.
So I think the next thing, right. Really? So with all that being said, Nadia, what advice could you give to other mothers or single mothers just about being a mom? Like, what advice could you give us?
Honestly, my biggest advice was just take everything in stride. Every day is going to be different. You're going to learn something new every day. Don't beat yourself up, which I still do that, but don't beat yourself up.
Me too.
When you get your kids, you're going to see you're really doing a great job. So just be mindful, like, okay, my kids are still growing. I'm still learning, and just know that you're doing what you're supposed to do. If your kid's not out here being extremely crazy, then you know that you're doing what you're supposed to do. So just take everything in stride and just take it as a learning process, because we don't know what we're doing. We're just learning each and every day. So just slow it down and just take it all in, because before you know, they're going to look up, like Brittany, both of you guys, your kids are almost halfway grown. So I don't know if they get to their age, I'm probably going to cry every day. I want to see my babies get to be in school. So just take that time and just enjoy it, cherish it, because before we look up, our babies are going to be grown, and that's going to be it. They're not going to be our babies anymore. So
that's
just
true.
take everything in stride and just dwell in the blessings. Like, really, just take every day as a blessing and just learn. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I like how you said that. Just take it in strides, because you don't know. Like you said, I'm telling you, I blinked and my girls were 12. And I was like, wait, you're 9, you're 12. Like, I'm not ready for this just yet. God, like, how do I handle this? How do I manage this? And I really have, like, it has taken me back to where I'm looking at photos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just remember holding you. Like, where have you,
Yeah.
what happened? But even still then, like the moments that we have now, like I love them being 12. I love them being this age because we can go back and forth. We can crack jokes. Like they get my sense of sarcasm, my humor, like they get it. And so whereas back in 3 and 4, like they didn't get it then.
They were looking at you like, what?
Yeah.
So they get it. And so it's just so much that, like, don't beat yourself up. For a long time, I'm like, man, I can't do this, Lord. Like, I'm just not going to get through this. This is not going to happen. Like, but I look up now and I'm like, God, thank you. I made it. Like, we're here. We're doing well. And I may not necessarily be where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. So I'm so grateful. I like that you said that. Take it in stride. That's beautiful.
You have to take it in stride. I'm still learning. I'm still getting to that point where, okay, Breezy, stop beating yourself up. It's going to be okay. Like, they're kids. They're learning. They're going to make mistakes. It doesn't fall back on you. Like, they're just learning. It's a process. And so I'm still learning to take it all in at a stride. Like, okay. But, yeah.
Yeah. Just soak it all up. So,
okay.
So Nadia, just tell me again, your mom is a single mom?
Yes.
So, okay, knowing that your mom is a single mom, being raised by a single mom, how did that impact you being a mother? How did that affect you?
Well, my mom, like you guys know my mom. A lot of people watching probably don't know my mom, but my mom is a very strong-willed person. And my mom instilled in me growing up, being a single mom, like you don't need to depend on anybody. You get out, you get it. Like if you need this and you're struggling, you go get it. I saw my mom do everything on her own. My great-grandmother, she was alive till I was about 8. And my grandmother died when I was about 4. So it was really just my mom. It's always just been me and my mom growing up. And just seeing my mom, like my mom, she never showed me that she was struggling. I never needed for anything. I'm trying not to cry. I never needed for anything. My mom always just made it like you come home, you do your schoolwork first. You can go play after that. My mom just made me feel so comfortable. I never could tell you one time that I felt like, okay, we're not gonna make it until I got older and I got to help my mom in that situation. So that instilled me like, I don't never want my kids to know what's going on with me personally, as far as like if I'm struggling. I want them to feel comfortable. They can get in their bed every day. They can be fed every day. They have clothes on their back. They don't need to never know what's going on with me. And they need to know that they can do everything on their own. So that has been my main focus as being a mom, learning that from my mom. Don't ever let your kids know your struggles if you can prevent
avoid
it. And just teaching them like, go get it. Nobody's gonna hand you anything. So that has always been like, I started working at 14 because my mom always, you go get it. You don't ask for nothing. Like I never wanted to ask my mom for money. So I started working at 14 years old. Like I got my own money. I can go buy my own Jordans. I can go do whatever. So that has been like my mom. She taught me so many things growing up. And that has just been my main thing. Like you go get it no matter what. You don't depend on nobody. You don't need nothing from nobody. You go get it. And that has been, to be honest with you, if I translate that into my marriage, I mean, I don't want to keep bringing it up, but if I translate it into my marriage, that has been a hard thing for me as a wife, because I've been so independent my whole life that I don't want to ask my husband for stuff. I don't want to have to depend on my husband for stuff. And that has taken me time to where I feel like I'm finally getting to that point after 6 years of marriage that I always want to do stuff on my own. Like I don't need him to pay for this. I don't need to ask him for this. So you have to translate that at some point. Like, okay, you can depend on somebody, but that's been the biggest thing. Like just my kids, you don't have to depend on people if you got somebody that's a good thing.
So knowing that, like for me, that's been, I think that was kind of my story as well. My mom was a go-getter. My grandmother was a go-getter. My auntie was a go-getter. So those were the women around me that I saw that was like, don't depend on anybody else to make it happen for you. And she instilled in me very young that, you know, this was a real thing. Me being Black was a real thing. You being a minority and being a girl, that was a real thing. And she told me, you know, to set myself apart. You got to work harder as your, you know, twice as hard as your counterpart. So that was instilled in me very young. And I continue to still do those things now. But okay, how does that transition into your marriage to where now you have to be vulnerable? You got to kind of, put down that wall. You can't be Miss Independent because, and that I feel like for me, that's going to be my struggle. That's going to be.
That has been a struggle. I'm not even going to ask Mark to come tell you guys, but that has been a struggle for me for the longest. Like communication would be all over the place because I can do it I can do it by myself. Like I don't need to ask you for anything. So why should I? But as a man, being a husband, you want your wife to depend on you for situations or depend on you for things. So that can cause a lot of problems. And I think over time, if you keep God in your marriage and you like just pray about it and you guys just work it out, it'll smooth itself out. It takes time, but I think it'll smooth itself out. You just, as a woman, being independent, you just have to learn like, okay, just like as being a mom, you gotta learn patience. Being a wife, you gotta learn, okay, I can't be so independent because I'm gonna probably be divorced in another year or two. So like, honestly, you just have to learn that, like, okay, you have to be. And then one thing, Brittany, that you mentioned about you gotta instill that you were a Black girl.
Yeah.
In the society today, we have to instill that in our kids. With everything going on in the world, my son goes to daycare where it's a mixed crowd, but it's a majority white children. So it's like you can't act this way because you are a Black boy and they are going to put that stereotype on you, which is sad. He's 3. Yeah. But in the world that we live in today, we have to teach that to our children. Like, hey, you're Black. People are going to view us different because we are Black. And the world don't love us like they love everybody else. So we just have to teach our kids like, hey, you can teach them to act a certain way, but people are still going to find a problem. So you just have to.
And it's sad when you think about it because they're not allowed to be kids per se. Like I've had instances where my son, my youngest one, he's just being a typical 8-year-old boy or something. But when he does it, it gets taken to extreme measure. If Johnny did it, it wouldn't be that bad. And so I had to try to explain to him, you can't do that because it goes to a whole nother level. Like, and then there's almost like this stereotype where they'll label you, he's this, he's that, he's this, instead of taking the moment and the time to realize, well, he's just a little kid. Instead of looking at his skin color, oh, I'm afraid of him, I'm scared. You're afraid of an 8-year-old? Like you have to just teach it to them early, because if you don't, it'll get ugly when they get older. Yeah. And that's sad.
That is scary. It's so scary.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation. Like literally I had to have the same conversation with my 9-year-old. My son, probably even sooner than that. I've had the conversation with my girls, probably about the same age. They were probably about maybe 7 or 8. And they don't have, I feel like for girls, we don't have as many struggles within school and those kind of settings often. I feel like not as often as boys do. And so, but I did have to sit my son down and say, hey, you can't do these things. And of course, as a child, you don't understand that. Like, what you mean why I can't do these things? And so you have to try to break it down to them to where they can understand it. But even still then, I feel like that's a conversation I'm going to have to continue to revisit as he gets older.
Every year, every
time. All right, Nadia. Well, we are on to our last question. So our blog is called Boldly, Freely, and Faithfully Living Through Christ. It stands for BFF. So we want to know, how are you living boldly, freely, and faithfully in Christ?
Honestly, I just have this thing where I just try to do everything through him. I don't go to church every Sunday. Like I work on Sundays actually. So I just try to do everything I do through him. I know that he is my strength. I know that he is the one that's letting me be able to do everything that I'm doing and accomplishing. So I just try to do that. Mark always jokes about like, hey, you always try to, you have like a big heart, like you always want to help people. And I'm like, well, that's just me. So it's just like being able to help people in any way that I can. And that's one of the main reasons why I went to dental hygiene, because I wanted to be able to help people. Like people, their smile can just change their whole feeling about themselves.
Sure does.
So just trying to help people and just trying to instill that in my kids. Like, hey, you don't have to just be so self-centered. You have to actually treat people to be kind. You have to be respectful, remain humble, and just know that there is someone above you that is the reason why you're able to do everything that you do. So just instilling that in my children and just giving that love and to everybody else around me is how I am trying to live that life.
That's awesome.
That's good, Nadia. That's really good.
Awesome. Well, Nadia, this is the end of our interview with you, and
Yes.
we can keep going. So, but we want to continue these conversations. Like I said, I think through the month, it has really, really just, for me, enlightened me more to, you know, bring more tools to my tool bag, to be able to just be like, you know what, that, I remember what Nadia said, to be patient. Just take a moment, walk away from the kids. Don't beat them up. Okay? You know, take a moment for yourself. So I feel like, girl, we'll be in touch, okay? Because this is, I think, so wonderful for moms, new moms, people wanting to be moms. Like, it's so important that we have these conversations so we realize, honey, you're not the only one struggling, okay?
Right.
Know it. We don't have the, you know, the answers to it all, but I'm telling you, together, like, I've realized like how much more impactful that can be if we do this together.
Yes. Because if you by yourself, you're gonna instantly think, when you have a downtime, like, oh my God, I have to be the only mom that don't know what to do.
Yep.
That is not the case.
Not at all. Not at all. And so, like I said, thank you, love, for taking the time out of your day to do
this. Thanks
for having me, you guys. This was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love.